If you'd like to trade the wheel strategy, but you only have a smaller account, then this video will be perfect for you. Because inside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through one of my favorite stocks to use for this strategy, where you only need a pretty small account to trade. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is El-Gorr. I am the founder and CEO of Freeman Publications. Personally, I've been trading the wheel for the past 6 years, and I've also written a best-selling book on the subject. So stay tuned. I'm going to walk through the fundamentals of the stock and why I believe it's such a good candidate for the wheel, even if you've only got a small account. So this is Coupang, which, as we learned last week, how to pronounce. It is a Korean e-commerce company. You kind of look at it as the Amazon of Korea. Interesting stock. I first heard about this. They went public in late 2020 or early 2021. I can't remember which one. And like many e-commerce companies in 2020, they received a ton of hype. Huge amounts of hype, no less. You know, this is the next Amazon. You need to buy this stock, blah, 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 blah. And their journey as a public company up until this point hasn't been particularly great. The stock is down, is that 70 odd percent since IPO? But as we've seen before, we've seen quite a few companies here who hadn't performed great after going public anywhere between 2019 and 2022, but had good businesses. If you got in at the right time, it's been a very fruitful investment. We've had one, very recently with Argen. We were talking about Argen. Where was it? It's like $8 a share. Now it's 16. The other one, which we forget now because of everything, but we were talking about Nubank when it was $6 a share, down 50 odd percent since IPO. And now look at what's happened. We've doubled since then. So I feel like Coupang has a very compelling value proposition at its current price. So it's a $30 billion company, which is currently profitable on a GAAP basis, as David says. We're looking at a company that's been around for quite a while. It's a fairly large company, like I said, $30 billion. Stage 8 in our model, because it is GAAP profitable now. But I think there is still a lot of room to grow. Now, what is Coupang? Kind of like Amazon on steroids. Whenever I see this, how did I ever live without Coupang? What does that make us think of? This phrase particularly. Amazon, absolutely. A sense of need. Which one of these in our model do you think it checks? High lifetime value, moat. Absolutely. Now, this is insane. If you think Amazon Prime's convenient, order as late as midnight, arrive before 7 a.m. Same day delivery. That's not particularly new. It's pretty nice, right? It's nice. 99% of items on the website have same day delivery. 99%. Far better than Amazon. And then this is actually something I didn't know until I was diving deeper. The returns process, you just leave it outside your door. Don't tell my girlfriend about this. We might move to Korea for convenience alone. The amount of times we got a Shein order to go back or an Amazon order to go back, and then one of them's got to go to the post office, the other one's got to go to the different drop-off point. And she thinks I'm weird for suggesting we need a personal assistant to do all of this. Unlimited free shipping with no minimum spend, unlimited returns for 30 days, grocery delivery, and then discounts as well. William, part of it's cultural in that you just don't get that in Korea like you do in the US or like you would do in the UK. It's just not it's not part of the culture. Like, does petty crime exist over there? Yes. Package theft, you wouldn't just take a random package. William, good question. Is William says, is Amazon struggling? Isn't Amazon struggling with the flood of returns? How about Coupang? I have seen articles about Amazon having to ban customers for excessive returns. I haven't seen anything about Coupang and like having to change their return policy or anything like that. So a big part of my thesis is their version of Amazon Prime, which is called Wow or Rocket Wow. So they have 14 million customers with a Wow membership. When you consider that South Korea only has 51 million people, that's a pretty high market share. So what is that, like 20, like 27% of the country has the equivalent of Amazon Prime? Number of Amazon Prime members in US. So pretty similar to the Amazon Prime numbers. Amazon Prime might even be higher, which is a good sign because it means there's more potential market share. And that's really like the thesis here, right? 14 million WoW members. You get same day delivery, instant returns, groceries. And the thing is, WoW has insane pricing power because it costs $3.75 a month. So my thought is they can just jack up the price. Let me just turn on my lights so I don't look so pale, by the way. There we go. I look like I have color in my skin again. So $3.75 a month for a WoW membership. They could increase that to $4. They could increase that to $5. They can increase that to $6 a month. in my mind, with minimal churn. And they're providing the same service. So straight away, that's an operating lever that they can pull. You know, I talk about operating levers. Like, what is the company not doing that is very easy to do? Yeah, just increase the prices. Average salary in Korea is not as high as the US, obviously. It's about $3,000 a month. Salary per capita is what you're looking for, David. So this is 0.1% of the average salary. So if we look at US, so the average salary, I'm going to go with Statista. Statista's pretty good. I just need average salary. Is that too difficult to ask? What is this? I don't want a real hourly earnings. This doesn't help me. So Forbes is saying $60,000 a year, which is $5,000 a month. So Amazon Prime monthly cost. So the salary in Korea is salary in the US is 60% higher than the salary in Korea. Amazon Prime is $14.99 a month, or $12 a month if you pay for a year. So the cost is 4 times higher for Amazon Prime as a baseline. Salaries are 60% higher. So straight away, you see the discrepancy there. So we have, realistically, room to double this, should we say? I think that's fair to say. Give me a 1 in the chat if you think that's fair. Room to double the WoW pricing. Instant lever right there. Now, David has a very good question. He asked, are they going to expand internationally? So outside of Taiwan, which is a pretty small market, there are no current plans to expand beyond their existing market. Because part of the reason that this works so well is that geographically, this makes sense in a country like Korea. High urban density. So I think they said the average person lives within 7 miles of a Coupang logistics facility. Like, there's no way you could ever replicate that in a market like the US. Especially in, less populated areas. Could it be possible in certain European cities? Yeah, absolutely. Could it be possible in certain parts of Asia? Yeah, absolutely. But primarily right now, their markets are Korea and Taiwan. And I'm going to talk about the non-perfect scenario as well. But you see they have third-party businesses selling on the website. So very, very similar to Amazon. They talk about competition. They are by far and away the market leader in Korea. But they are not the only e-commerce website in Korea. Many others have a presence, but Coupang's logistics network cannot be matched. they also acquired Farfetch. Does anyone remember Farfetch? So Farfetch, if you don't know what these guys do, are a luxury goods reseller. So if you can't get it straight from the manufacturer, you can get it on farfetch.com. So these guys only deal in high-end clothing and accessories. So like these sneakers, which looks like silver versions of what my granddad wore when he was 80 and had to have orthopedic shoes for £890. Blows my mind. Now, Farfetch was a public company for a few years. And are they actually made out of silver? No! They're just painted silver. Jonathan, don't get me excited. You silly goose. So Farfetch was a public company. And they actually were trading at a $26 billion market cap a few years ago. That was at the peak of the pandemic mania. And for what it's worth, I don't think they were ever worth anywhere near $26 billion. In my mind, it was like a $3 or a $4 billion company. Now, Farfetch ran into a lot of trouble, and Farfetch have been acquired by Coupang. And Coupang acquired them for a $500 million bridge loan. In other words, Farfetch was in trouble. Coupang said, we'll give you $500 million to, mitigate your financial trouble. And as part of that, we'll take ownership in the business. So to me, that's a pretty smart acquisition. Pretty low risk acquisition as well, especially in financial terms, because you paid $500 million for a company that less than 4 years ago was trading at 26 billion. And they have a very healthy cash position. They've got 2.8 billion in net cash. So it's not as if they've had to borrow money to do this. So to me, it's a pretty nice acquisition play. I don't mind a company doing that, especially if, I think it's fair to say, while this is a growing company, it's still a fairly mature growing company. Like, I'm not expecting 40% revenue growth every year organically. So to acquire a company like that, like Farfetch, there's potential upside there. Jonathan, it's a question of how much of Farfetch is integrated into Coupang. We don't know all the details yet because the acquisition hasn't officially finalized. My guess would be a big chunk of Farfetch management would be let go. David says, when was that? Should that be in the goodwill? What do you mean, sorry? When was what? When they acquired the company, it was at the beginning of 2024. So it won't be listed in this year's financial statement. Because the goodwill only comes if they have to then write down the acquisition. So let's say next year they decide that Farfetch is actually only worth 250 million. Then there'll be a 250 million on the goodwill balance. Yeah, you never see the goodwill in the same year. Because right now it's worth 500 million because that's what they paid for it. It's only in the future they can say, oh, in hindsight, we paid 500 million, it's only worth 250. Like Etsy, for example. Let me just show you this. This is a good demonstration. Like Etsy acquired Depop in 2020. And then you see here in 2021, we have this huge goodwill charge because they decided that it wasn't worth the whatever it was they paid for it. So this is not an old business. It's 14 years old. Right now, not seeing much in terms of like specific business risks, but there is one that we've never really talked about on one of these calls that I think is a risk. Changes in customer preferences, not really a Coupang specific issue. Failure to implement strategic initiatives. Once again, that's literally every business. Jonathan's great question. So they have a payments division, Coupang Pay, so a payment processor. They have a streaming service, which is pretty new, to be fair. So we can't really see what value it brings to the business right now. Because they have in there, the way they break it down is they have the core e-commerce segment, and then they have what's called developing offerings. So kind of similar to Google's other bets. You say, is Sea Limited a competitor? No, they don't operate in the same markets. Sea doesn't operate in Korea. So I wouldn't see them as a competitor. Yeah, oh God, I'm terrible. It's been a long day, what can I say? So yeah, David, January 2024. David says, is streaming included with the premium subscription like Amazon, or is it charged as an extra? I don't know is the answer to that. Let's see if we can find. Okay, they have like an English news website. That's pretty cool. So we get Rocket Delivery, which is the next day delivery service. They get they get groceries, free access to Coupang Play, which is the video streaming service. So it is free, it is included. Oh, what? They get to watch Parasite for free? That's not fair. Great movie. God, kind of makes me want to move to Korea. So yeah, looks like you get it. And then we have Coupang Eats, which is like the meal delivery service. So they're getting that as well. My goodness, this is so good. Effective March 26th. That's literally today. Coupang One members will no longer have to pay delivery fees. Cool. Third largest player in Korea's food delivery market. William, great question. Kind of like the $1 million question. What prevents Sea Limited, AliExpress, Amazon, etc. from entering the market? Logistics networks. Same way that everyone's failed against Amazon in the US, same way that everyone's failed against Mercado Libre in Latin America. logistics networks. It takes a huge amount of capital investment to have a logistics network that can serve 99% of a website same-day delivery. It's like how we talked about with Mercado Libre versus Amazon in Mexico. 50% of Mercado Libre's products are available next day delivery. 1% of Amazon's products in Mexico are available next day delivery. And for Amazon, Korea may be too small of a market to dedicate towards that level of capital investment. Especially when you're dealing with a company that now has a 14-year head start. The biggest potential competitor I could see is Sea Limited. But I think they are more focused on their like video game and payment processing offering in Southeast Asia, because Southeast Asia is a bigger market than Korea is. I hope that makes sense, William. My main concern is this. Have we already reached the peak levels of growth? That's my main concern with this company. Because Taiwan isn't a huge market, probably isn't going to affect the bottom line too much. They've already got 14 million members. They could probably get another 10 million, and that would get them to the same level as Amazon. They don't have a super high margin cloud business. The high margin lever is this pricing power with the WoW offering, and then the potential with the developing offerings division. That's like my main concern with a company like this. Because I don't see the easy play just being, oh, we'll expand internationally. I think that would actually be a disaster. And I would be nowhere near as bullish on this company if their money plan was just international expansion. But for me, like the cool thing is like, this is something I haven't talked about. So active customers are up 16% year over year. Subscription customers are up 27% year over year. So it's similar to Duolingo in the sense that paid subscribers are growing faster than non-paid, and paid subscribers also are better customers. So they're acquiring more of the kinds of customers they want. But you also have Farfetch, which covers the international market, because Farfetch is an international website. It's not just Korea. You know, we can get our silver Balenciaga shoes on there. We can get because I remember David was saying, I think David said he bought this on Farfetch the other day because he needed some like overalls to wear at work that he didn't mind getting stains on. David, is that correct? Oh my goodness. What is this? I feel like I'm out of touch. Who buys that? David, I don't know who buys this stuff. It's a trench coat, Carlotta. If you want to go, if you want to go more classic, you can get a diesel runway denim jacket, and whatever he's wearing down below for the low, low price of £1,735. But yeah, I have no idea who the customers for this are. A lot of that makes two of us. But I know they do have customers. They do have a customer base. Do want to go down to the management commentary. So they are a founder-led business. I forgot to say that. And it's a dual class share, which means it's not going to be listed on any kind of like index because dual class shares do not get included in indexes anymore as of, I believe, 2017. If you're wondering, but why is Google still there? Google got grandfathered in. So you see here, 2017, you're not allowed to join any sort of S&P or Russell 2000 indexes if you have dual share structures. So that is a little bit of like a bearish take because it just means they don't get the passive money coming into the stock from all those managed funds. But it's not something I really look at when I'm investing in a company. So yeah, here we go. Developing offerings. Yeah, Jonathan, they'd be allowed in the Korean index, just in the US. So developing offerings is their like other bets division, like Google, like it loses money, like we would expect a developing offerings division to do. So it's really a case of can they turn those developing offerings into profitable businesses? Spend per customer up as well. That's what we want to see. Oh, and gross margins are slightly increasing as they talk about operational efficiencies and things like that. Cool thing is, so this debuted as a growth stock. I don't think it's priced as a growth stock anymore. And so the way I see it is kind of like a C Limited or a Mercado Libre in the I'm not expecting like insane growth year over year. I suppose Mercado Libre does also provide that. But I can expect consistent growth compounded year over year with a business that has a lot of levers to pull to achieve operational excellence. That's how I see it. I think it has lower upside than C Limited and Mercado Libre just because of demographics. But I don't see why, especially from the starting position that we're at, that this company can't perform really, really well for the next 5 to 10 years. Especially because of this. This is kind of like the golden goose. I think they could double this and they would lose 5% of their customer base. Especially, and having lived, not in Korea, I've never lived in Korea, but I've lived in Taiwan, I've lived in Southeast Asia. And I lived there, my goodness, 10 years ago. So, like, I cannot stress just how convenience focused these countries are. Like, it's not uncommon in these countries for people to order meal delivery every single day of the week. Because the other thing is, like, it's not like meal delivery in the US or the UK where you just get destroyed by fees. You know, I remember a sad, sad moment when I was living in Austin. I just really wanted some, quality, authentic Chinese food. So I went to order Panda Express. And what I thought was going to be a $27 meal was actually a $51 meal once you added up all the fees. And if you're wondering, did you still press the order button? Absolutely not. But like in these countries, William, I am bullish on Panda Express. I'm a Panda Express maximalist. My girlfriend actually had Panda Express for the first time in Dubai Airport, and she loved it. Don't know what it is. Must be all the MSG. But these countries are so convenience focused that I would say that something like Wow has even more pricing power than Amazon Prime does. Don't get me wrong, love me some Amazon Prime. I know, William, I'm being facetious. I'm very aware that it's not authentic. But I just can't I don't think people can underestimate this. And I keep pounding the table on this. I just think so many of these foreign stocks are massively discounted. And I think we've been proven right so far with Mercado Libre, with Nubank, with C Limited, with Argen. And I think we'll be proved right with Coupang as well. And then next month, we have another foreign stock that's listed in the States on a deep dive that I think is a bargain. And you may be seeing a pattern here. Like in 2022, the majority of the bargains were US mega cap stocks, or at least like large US cap stocks, the Metas, the Googles, the Microsofts. I love Meta. It's been my best call of all time. I wouldn't say the stock today is a bargain. I still think it's fairly priced, but I don't think it's a bargain. I think this is relatively a pretty nice risk reward proposition. David, I haven't done the valuation model for this one. I will do it later this week just because I didn't have time. I wouldn't use price to sales for this one just because it's an e-commerce website, so price to sales isn't like it's not a fair measure. I only really use price to sales for like very high margin SaaS businesses. But I think at the current price, it's a pretty fairly valued business. And my like napkin math, I had the fair value at 1950. And it's currently trading in the 17s. Yeah, that's Coupang. If you made it this far, I'm going to assume you probably are interested in trading the wheel and you're a pretty serious trader yourself. So what I'm going to do is link another video showing you a walkthrough of my exact trades, how I find stocks consistently that are going to... If you made it this far, I'm going to assume you're pretty serious about this whole endeavor. So what I'm going to do is down below, there will be a video to show you exactly how I trade the wheel, how I find stocks that consistently provide a solid return without too much risk. And that video will really give you a deep walkthrough of my thought process while I'm actually executing the trades.